What if someone told you that working until 65 is completely optional? What if there was a way to break free from the 9 to 5 grind decades earlier than everyone else expects? Most people accept that they'll work for 40 years, save a little bit here and there, and hope they have enough money to retire when they're old and gray. But there's a growing movement of people who refuse to accept this timeline. They're retiring in their 30s, 40s, and 50s, while their friends are still stuck in cubicles. This isn't about winning the lottery or inheriting millions from a rich uncle. This is about a systematic approach that anyone can follow. The strategies you're about to discover have helped thousands of ordinary people achieve financial independence and retire decades ahead of schedule. You don't need a six-figure salary to make this work. You don't need to be a financial genius. You just need to understand a few key principles and have the discipline to follow through. Here's the harsh reality that most financial advisors won't tell you. The traditional retirement plan is broken. Social Security might not be there when you need it. Company pensions are disappearing faster than ice cream on a hot summer day. And the average American has less than $65,000 saved for retirement. Even worse, inflation is eating away at your purchasing power every single year. What costs $100 today will cost $180 in 20 years if inflation stays at just 3%. That means your money is losing value while it sits in a savings account, earning practically nothing. The traditional advice of saving 10% of your income and hoping for the best simply doesn't work anymore. At that rate, you'll be working until you're 70 or older, assuming you can even afford to retire then. But what if there was a better way? What if you could flip the script and take control of your financial future, starting today? FIRE stands for Financial Independence, Retire Early. It's a movement that started gaining serious momentum after the publication of Your Money or Your Life back in 1992. The core idea is simple but powerful. Save and invest aggressively so you can retire decades before the traditional retirement age. The people following FIRE aren't just dreamers. They're engineers, teachers, nurses, and regular working people who decided they wanted more from life than just working until they drop. They've cracked the code on building wealth fast enough to buy back their time and freedom. The movement has three main pillars. First, dramatically reduce your expenses by focusing on what truly matters. Second, increase your income through career advancement, side hustles, or business ventures. Third, invest the difference in a way that generates passive income for life. This isn't about living like a monk or eating ramen noodles for 20 years. It's about being intentional with your money and making choices that align with your values and long-term goals. Let's talk numbers because the math behind early retirement is actually quite straightforward. The key concept is something called the Rule of 25. This rule says you need to save 25 times your annual expenses to retire safely. Here's how it works. If you spend $50,000 per year, you need $1.25 million saved. If you spend $75,000 per year, you need $1.875 million. The beauty of this approach is that it focuses on your expenses, not your income. You can control your expenses much more easily than you can control your income. Once you hit your target number, you can withdraw 4% of your savings each year to cover your living expenses. This is called the 4% rule, and it's based on historical market data showing that a diversified portfolio can sustain this withdrawal rate for 30 years or more. But here's where it gets interesting. The amount you need to save depends heavily on how much you spend, not how much you make. Someone making $100,000 who spends $40,000 needs far less money to retire than someone making $150,000 who spends $120,000. This is why the FIRE movement focuses so heavily on optimizing your expenses. Every dollar you don't spend is a dollar you can invest, and every dollar you invest today could be worth $3 or $4 by the time you retire. Not everyone approaches early retirement the same way. The FIRE community has developed several different strategies based on your income level and lifestyle preferences. Lean FIRE is for people who want to retire with a more modest lifestyle. This typically means living on $40,000 to $50,000 per year in retirement. It requires less money up front, but demands more careful budgeting and lifestyle choices. Fat FIRE is for people who want to maintain a higher standard of living in retirement. This might mean $100,000 or more per year in expenses. It requires saving significantly more money but allows for more flexibility and luxury in retirement. Coast FIRE is a newer approach that's gaining popularity. The idea is to save aggressively early in your career, then coast on compound growth. You might save intensively for 10 to 15 years, then reduce your savings rate and let compound interest do the heavy lifting. Barista FIRE is for people who want to retire from their main career, but continue earning some income through part-time work or passion projects. This reduces the amount you need to save because you're still generating some income in retirement. The key is choosing the approach that fits your personality, income level, and life goals. There's no one-size-fits-all solution, but there is a strategy that can work for almost everyone. Here's the secret that separates people who retire early from people who work until they're 70. It's not about how much money you make, it's about how much money you save. Most financial advisors recommend saving 10% to 15% of your income for retirement, but people who retire early typically save 50% to 70% of their income. Some extreme cases save even more than that. This might sound impossible, but it's more achievable than you think. The key is to focus on your biggest expenses first. Housing, transportation, and food typically make up 60% to 70% of most people's budgets. If you can optimize these three categories, you can dramatically increase your savings rate without feeling deprived. This might mean house hacking by renting out rooms, driving a reliable used car instead of a new one, or cooking more meals at home. The beautiful thing about increasing your savings rate is that it works in two directions. First, you have more money to invest each month. Second, you need less money to retire because your expenses are lower. Someone who saves 70% of their income can retire in about 8 to 10 years. Someone who saves 50% can retire in about 15 to 17 years. Compare that to the traditional 10% savings rate, which requires 40 to 45 years of work. Saving money is only half the equation. The other half is investing that money in a way that generates long-term wealth. The good news is that the investment strategy for early retirement doesn't have to be complicated. Most successful early retirees use a simple three-fund portfolio. This consists of a total stock market index fund, an international stock index fund, and a bond index fund. The exact allocation depends on your age and risk tolerance, but a common starting point is 70% stocks and 30% bonds. Index funds are perfect for this strategy because they have low fees, broad diversification, and historically solid returns. Over the long term, the stock market has returned about 10% per year before inflation. Even accounting for inflation and fees, you can expect real returns of 6% to 7% per year. The key is to invest consistently regardless of what the market is doing. This is called dollar cost averaging, and it helps smooth out the ups and downs of market volatility. When the market is down, your money buys more shares. When the market is up, your existing shares are worth more. Tax-advantaged accounts like 401ks and IRAs should be your first priority. These accounts allow your money to grow tax-free or tax-deferred, which can add hundreds of thousands of dollars to your retirement savings over time. Once you max out your tax-advantaged accounts, you can invest in regular taxable accounts. These don't have the same tax benefits, but they also don't have age restrictions on withdrawals, which is important for early retirement. The path to early retirement isn't always smooth. There are several common obstacles that can derail your progress if you're not prepared for them. The first obstacle is lifestyle inflation. As your income increases, it's natural to want to spend more money on nicer things. But every dollar you spend on lifestyle inflation is a dollar that can't work for your future freedom. The second obstacle is social pressure. Your friends and family might not understand why you're driving an older car or living in a smaller house when you could afford more. Remember that their opinions don't pay your bills or fund your retirement. The third obstacle is market volatility. There will be years when your investments lose money, and it can be tempting to panic and sell everything. But market downturns are actually opportunities to buy more shares at lower prices. The fourth obstacle is healthcare costs. If you retire before 65, you won't be eligible for Medicare, so you'll need to find alternative health insurance. This can be expensive, but it's not insurmountable with proper planning. The fifth obstacle is boredom or lack of purpose. Some people struggle with early retirement because they haven't figured out what they want to do with their time. The key is to start developing hobbies and interests long before you retire. Now that you understand the principles, let's talk about creating your own early retirement plan. The first step is to calculate your current expenses and determine your FIRE number. Track every dollar you spend for at least 3 months to get an accurate picture. Next, look for ways to optimize your 3 biggest expense categories. Can you reduce your housing costs by moving to a lower cost area or getting roommates? Can you reduce transportation costs by biking, walking, or using public transit? Can you reduce food costs by cooking more meals at home? The third step is to increase your income. This might mean asking for a raise, switching to a higher paying job, starting a side hustle, or building a business. Every extra dollar you earn is a dollar you can invest in your future freedom. The fourth step is to automate your investments. Set up automatic transfers from your checking account to your investment accounts. This removes the temptation to spend the money and ensures you're consistently working toward your goal. The fifth step is to track your progress regularly. Calculate your net worth every month and celebrate the milestones along the way. Seeing your wealth grow over time will keep you motivated during the tough periods. Early retirement might seem like an impossible dream, but thousands of people are proving it's achievable with the right strategy and mindset. The key is to start as soon as possible because time is your most valuable asset when it comes to building wealth. Even if you can't save 50% of your income right away, start with whatever you can manage. Save 20% this year, then increase it to 25% next year. Every percentage point increase in your savings rate moves your retirement date closer. The compound interest you earn in your 20s and 30s will be worth more than the money you save in your 40s and 50s. Starting early gives your money more time to grow and multiply. Don't let perfect be the enemy of good. You don't need to have everything figured out before you start. You just need to take the first step and keep moving forward. The path to early retirement requires sacrifice and discipline, but the reward is ultimate freedom. Freedom to spend your time however you choose. Freedom from financial stress and worry. Freedom to pursue your passions and dreams without worrying about a paycheck. Your future self will thank you for every dollar you save and invest today. The question isn't whether early retirement is possible. The question is whether you're willing to do what it takes to make it happen. The time to start building your path to financial independence is right now. Your journey to early retirement begins with a single step, and that step starts today.